I'm going over my Zoom fails and a few others that I've heard on Twitter right now. Clip is going to be all about web or Zoom fails. Hashtag Zoom fails. So you've heard all the stories of people with their secret bathroom trips, or not so secret, or the not wearing pants, or sometimes the kids will being around the room and the kids will say the darndest things. You gotta know what your kids are saying, right? Starting with about last week, I was just minding my own business, going through fine with all this working from home thing. All of a sudden my internet goes out. We're in a lightning storm, thunderstorm, and there's a flash of lightning and a big clap of thunder. Power is fine. Power maybe blinked, but it stayed on. It thankfully stayed on, so I had power at least. My router just it was gone. If you can see it behind me, that's my actual internet router connected to my box. That was red. Right after, the moment after lightning struck. That's one. And I had to pretty much go out to a bar or restaurant for internet to do things, and I had to find alternatives. Thankfully, it made me learn about my apartment business center. It was back up and open, so I was able to go into there at least and have very reliable internet. So thankfully that I had that. And then you talk about when internet goes out during a Zoom call. I've seen this happen on Twitter. I saw the experiences. When your internet goes out, when you're in the middle of a call, what do? Sometimes it's just for a second and you have to reconnect after you reboot your router, and hopefully the meeting is still happening. It may be an hour and your meetings don't last usually more than an hour. Another Zoom fail that I have a story on as well. And a big one is not knowing when you're muted or unmuted. I can't talk for myself too much about being muted. I'm sure it happens so much more. Unmuted being when you're giving a speech or you're presenting something and you give your talk and you're about a minute in and people are like, you're just finally paying attention to your screen. What? We can't hear you. We can't hear you. Yeah. So make sure unmute yourself or mute yourself if you're not talking, and if it's not. Sometimes you want to be unmuted too, because the speaker presenter wants to have that engagement, and that's okay too. But know when the time is to have engagement. Know at that time, even know when to shut your video off. A lot of people like to see faces, but sometimes video takes broadband. If you turn your video off, you're giving others some broadband time as well. So know when to mute or unmute yourself, or know when to have your video on and off. And my last story that I have is a story. I'm in Toastmasters, okay, and we're going through that. We set up the idea that for this marketing campaign for our online meetings when we kind of didn't know when the online meetings were. We planned for a day to shoot a grid. This is 2 weeks in or so when we started going online. We need to shoot a Brady Bunch grid type, how the windows are in Zoom. We did just that. So we planned the shoot day. It was around Mother's Day or something. I was driving on the road going from city to city in the middle between cities, and I had to stop on the side of the road because I didn't want to miss the shoot day that we had planned a week before. I had me and my dog with me, and in the production, I can share this with you as well. You can see my dog in the background in my little square. It's probably the greatest marketing stunt that my club and any Toastmasters in recent years for these Zoom things has done. And to this day, it gets a little laugh in all the clubs when we talk about it. Zoom bombing is a big thing. Make sure your rooms are secure. Make sure you know if you're on the free version, you have 40 minutes to talk about what you need, or 5 minutes left. Say, we're about to run out of time, let's close this and start over. So it's probably a good thing to start a break, 30 minutes in between, have a break in between. It's probably a good way, and you can use the free version like that. 30 minutes, 40 minutes, you have a 30-minute meeting, break, come back, another 30 minutes, but you get close to 40 and Zoom free is going to kick you out. At a time, if you upgrade, if you need more time when you have a bunch of people, upgrade, it's $15 a month. A few others I ran on Twitter, using features, being stuck with the feature when you're in the meeting. When you're using a feature and you don't know how to get it off. Like, I saw on Twitter the one, like, he turned himself into a potato or something, and he couldn't figure out how to turn it off, so during the meeting, he was a potato. I don't know where that feature is, but he was a potato for the meeting because he couldn't figure out how to remove that feature. And pay attention to your environment, your fans, your lights, your mess. Clean up around you and your spouse. Is your spouse like doing something that otherwise she would want private? Or is she maybe your spouse is doing some work and it probably is best to be in separate rooms from your spouse when you're working so the two meetings don't mix up. Windows on your PC move around after you share. Like, that happens to me a bunch when someone shares something, or when I share something, Zoom makes your windows all funky. It moves things around. It's like, after I do something like this, and then they'll be like, I'll be looking for it. I'll be like, where does it go? Like, when there's a share, there's settings under to turn on or off. Don't go into full screen when someone shares. Like, that's the biggest thing. When someone shares, it takes full screen. And then it makes literally all the attendants, windows and screens, weird, and they're lost and confused after you share a screen. So that's what I have to say about Zoom fails. Be sure to check out my video coming up, and I talk about social media detox. Check this video out here. And be sure to look out for a few more videos that I have yet to produce. Web conferencing in real life, web conferencing setup, lighting, and Zoom alternatives, and getting started with Zoom.